Hi everyone! So today I want to talk about dealing with crowds when you have anxiety. Now I was inspired to make this video because spring and summer are on the horizon, the weather is getting warmer, and I know that a lot of you are going to be going out with friends or family, and there will most likely be crowds. Whether it's shopping, festivals, going somewhere where you're going to have to be waiting in a queue, anything like that can cause anxiety. Even for people that don't deal with full-blown really bad anxiety, a lot of the time it can bring up feelings of claustrophobia and being trapped. So I thought that I would just share some of my tips and tricks that I've used over the years to help myself deal with this. The first thing I would recommend you doing is identifying what it is about crowds that makes you anxious. Once you've identified what is making you feel anxious, it's much easier to work towards eliminating that feeling. So commonly it can be things like feeling trapped, feeling claustrophobic. It can also be about the people you're with or the people that you're surrounded by, perhaps like you're with friends that you don't particularly like, or you're worried that they'll do something. It varies depending on who you are. Everyone is an individual and every case is unique and individual. So first just give some thought as to what it actually is that is making you feel anxious. Of course, the next thing to do is to rationalise your feelings. With that, I usually do an inner dialogue. It helps to tell yourself, first of all, that you're not trapped, you're not claustrophobic, that the people around you cannot hurt you, because at the end of the day, anxiety is an irrational feeling, and so it is really important to rationalise it, to tell yourself that you can leave this situation at any time. There is almost no situations in your life that you physically cannot leave. Even if the repercussions of leaving aren't good, there is nothing physically binding you to the chair or to the spot. You can just say, no, I've had it, I don't feel good, and just leave. Just knowing that you can do that can bring you a lot of comfort. Talking of removing yourself from the situation, you can then either remove yourself physically or mentally. Now, physically, obviously, you can just walk away from the situation. Maybe perhaps not permanently. Sometimes it does just help to give yourself a breather from the situation. So that either means perhaps just walking away and going to the toilet for a bit and just sitting there, like not actually like, you know what I mean. You just sit there, you take a few deep breaths and you just have a little bit of space. Or perhaps it does mean you just walk away completely. You feel like you just cannot deal with that situation and so you go. And that's okay. I mean, everyone feels that way sometimes. It is good to try and tackle it, but if it does feel like it gets too much, then it can be very beneficial to you to just walk away and have a little bit of alone time. And now, removing yourself mentally, I like to do this quite a lot, where I just try to separate myself from the situation and everyone around me. So I picture in my mind a place, I picture myself in a place, and I sort of just become like within myself. I'm not sure if that makes any sense to anyone that's new to like visualization and that kind of thing, but I think it does help to like visualize yourself in your bedroom, in a field, instead of where you are right now. And once you've sort of got that mental image and you've calmed your body through imagining that you're somewhere else, it's then like you feel much better about bringing yourself back to reality, because you've sort of like reached a peaceful state. And so that's something that I like to do a lot. Similarly to my last point is anchoring. To anyone that hasn't done like therapy or counselling before, this might sound a little bit bizarre, but anchoring yourself with an item or a mental image is really, really useful. So a lot of people carry around like a pebble, and whenever they start to feel like anxious or like they're out of control, you just hold the pebble and you use it as like your anchor to ground yourself and say, like, it's okay. You do the rationalizing again, you talk to yourself in your mind and you say, it's escapable, I'm not trapped, I'm okay. And the same can be with an image. Like, a lot of people like to imagine a ball of light in their mind, and they sort of just stand there and think, like, they let everything else fall away and they just focus on this ball of light, and it anchors them and it like grounds them, and then they're able to face the situation. And this is something that you probably do want to talk over with a professional who's able to really help you refine that skill, because it can be difficult when you are really anxious. But if you are doing counselling or something at the moment, it's definitely something worth bringing up with whoever you're doing it with, and see if they can explore that with you. Some other little extra points that I want to make are making other people aware of how you feel. For example, if you're going out with friends to a festival, there is nothing wrong with saying perhaps to you don't have to tell everyone, just sort of a friend that you feel comfortable or close with, saying, I have to admit, I don't deal very well with crowds. At some point, I might have to leave or just go and take a breath somewhere else, and just let others know, because sometimes you can feel chained to a group, as in if you are at a concert or something, you feel like you can't leave because no one else is leaving, and because if you try to leave, everyone is going to ask questions and sort of try and stop you, not in a mean way, just in that they want to comfort you because they don't necessarily understand what you're going through. So I would say just let someone know that this might happen, that you might feel like you have to leave, just so they're aware and so no one tries to stop you, and so you feel comfortable in just leaving that situation. My next points kind of tie in with this, and that is knowing your exits. Just knowing that you have that sort of option to leave, even if you don't take it, can make you feel a lot better. And so it's useful to know where your nearest exit is, where the nearest toilets are, and as you're sort of going into a place, or perhaps beforehand researching it, knowing where you can go if you do feel anxious. A lot of the time, sort of if I'm going to a big shopping centre and I'm sort of a bit wary about the crowds, I always find out where the nearest toilets are, and then to my friends I can say, actually I need to go to the toilet. You don't have to say I need to go to the toilet, not actually go to the toilet, just sit on the seat and hyperventilate for a bit, but you can just sort of leave it ambiguous and just say, yeah, I'm just going to go over here, and just leave, and then you can spend that time to get yourself together again and then return to the situation. And also, another thing I would recommend is having a backup plan. Now you can do this with parents, siblings, family members, close friends. Just having a plan so that if the situation really does get too much, you have something in place that you can do. Now, sometimes this can be an excuse, so you could tell your mum, for example, oh, 1 hour into this, can you phone me? And if I say a certain thing, then can you come and pick me up? I know that sounds a little bit deceitful, but sometimes, particularly if you're with a group of friends that you're not particularly close with, having your mum call you up and saying Grandad's ill, do you want to come and see him in the hospital or something? Maybe not something that sinister, that wasn't a very good example, but you know what I mean. And then you would say yes or no, and then you have that excuse, that you have that reason to leave. And that can actually apply to a lot of situations. The same can go with friends. You could have a code word, and then that's it, you can leave that situation, and a lot of the time you will find that you won't even use that code word. You just feel a lot of relief, and it does relieve your anxiety a lot, just knowing that that option is there. The last thing I would recommend you do is treat the symptoms. Now again, this varies for everyone. Everyone is different. It could mean sort of if you're in a crowd and you tend to get quite hot and claustrophobic, bringing a little handheld fan, bringing some wet wipes just to sort of cool yourself down with. If you feel quite sick in crowds, maybe bring a little bit of ginger to sort of relieve your stomach issues, or some water to sort of, just help hydrate you. All of these things that seem quite minor can actually really help you, and it does also give you an excuse to do something else which takes your mind off it. If you are feeling a bit sort of claustrophobic and het up over something, it can be really therapeutic to sort of take out a wet wipe and just dab yourself. I know that that sounds really weird, and it probably looks slightly weird to everyone else, but just having that distraction, not only will it sort of help relieve the physical symptoms of your anxiety, but it does give you a distraction, so I think that that's definitely worth a try. That will be it for me for today. Thank you for watching. I'm going to leave some links in the description below, as always, on some websites that you might find useful if you do deal with crowd-related anxiety. And I guess I just want to wish everyone that is going to be in those situations and feels anxious about it good luck, and to say well done, because you don't always sort of get told that, do you? Oh, well done for going in that crowd. And a lot of people that don't deal with anxiety don't necessarily realise how big of a deal it is. So well done for telling yourself that you're going to do it, especially well done if you've managed to do it, and I wish you all the best of luck. Bye!